Hi, this is Torah 411 channel. We're back with James BRAYSHAW, and we're going to be talking about the angel of light. And James, we're just going to go through this really quick. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and start.
So we're going to do this as quickly as we can because it's not that difficult when we consider some things about this angel who transforms itself into an angel of light. Let me just read that passage from 2 Corinthians 11, 13 to 15. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it's no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. We need to know a few things if we're going to understand who this Satan is, what this light is, and what an angel is in this passage, because Paul had an understanding that was unique to his day, way different than our day. Actually, let's just flip that on its head. Our understanding today is typically unique. It's not at all connected to the original understanding Paul would have had, nor his audience would have had. Consider this. Paul was a Hebrew believer in Messiah. His job was to preach what he understood as truth to the people in the Corinthian area and around the entire ancient Near East area in Jerusalem and beyond. And so Paul would have his frame of reference from what? From the Old Testament, from the Hebrew Scriptures. And we can find what light is, first of all, as a metaphor if we look into a passage in Isaiah. In Isaiah 8:20, we're told, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it's because what? There's no light in them. And that is referring to no truth in the people, the men, the false religious leaders and teachers who would teach in accord with their own beliefs and doctrines. And they would often transform themselves into ministers of righteousness. That means they came across with the appearance that what they were teaching was truth and righteousness, and they would draw people in. Consider this. This environment was profoundly steeped in pagan religions, in skewed biblical versions of truth, and in religious leaders who were pursuing power. And if we know what a religious leader was in that day, we look at the word angel and find out a little more, connecting that word again to the ancient understanding that we find in the Qumran cults, the Essene text, the Dead Sea Scrolls. We know this, that an angel, an angelos in the Greek, which is malak in the Hebrew, in so many references in the Bible, is referring to a human man, and often a priest or a religious leader of the day, because there was this false religious system that was always percolating in this unusual Corinthian environment filled with pagan cults and false religious systems. Paul needed to speak against it and let the people know that those ministers of righteousness were really human messengers, angelos, transforming themselves as angels of light. But that leaves us with the word Satan and Satan and Satanas. How does that word fit in here? Well, we see it with a capital S in this New Testament passage. In almost all Bibles, it's written with a capital S in the English. The word Satanas stems from the Hebrew word Satan. And again, that word in the mind and hearer of the audience of the day was referring only to a human adversary. In fact, when it was speaking of somebody teaching false doctrine, a minister of righteousness transforming himself into a messenger of false teaching, into a messenger of true teaching when their teaching was false, Paul knew that the Satanas he was speaking about was a human being, an adversary. It was referring to a man. It can refer to other elements, and you'll see this in other videos, such as a sickness or malady, a false teacher or false teaching, another human opposing a human. And in fact, sometimes God can be the adversary to the humans. So all in all, what do we see here? How would we reread this passage if we were to look at it through the lens that Paul was sitting in when he spoke these words, if in fact it was him? We could see it such as this. Those who are transformed into messengers of light and ministers of righteousness are the deceptive men who teach the unsuspecting laity their versions of the truth. So we know this passage isn't about an angel, supernatural messenger, a supernatural being like Satan who can transform himself into some brilliant beam that deceives people and causes them to be blind to the truth.
Yeah, this is Torah 411, and we're going to continue unmasking Satan in future videos and teachings. And we're going to see that the Satan in Scripture is not a literal cosmic being. The word Satan itself means adversary, and we see that often humans are the adversary, and it is the evil within man that is often the adversary against God. Thanks, Jim, for coming. I'm going to link your books below. So if you're interested in reading his books, The Devil Jesus Knew, Satan is Finished, Satan, Christianity's Other God, and Imagine No Satan. Go to the link below and check it out. Check out these books by James BRAYSHAW. They're really great, and he really does a good job explaining how we've taken Satan and turned him into something that he's not. So until next time, this is Torah 411. Shalom.